We are back. Dynasty rookie rankings for the 2025 rookie class. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, especially if you like Dynasty content, because you're going to get a lot of it on this channel during the offseason rookie scouting, Dynasty price checks, rookie mock drafts, startup mock drafts, all of that fun stuff involved with Dynasty. It is time for us Dynasty players to shine. And today we are ranking the rookie running back class, 20 rookies into 6 different tiers. I've already released the wide receiver video. There will be a quarterback and tight end video, so make sure to be on the lookout for those. And man, this rookie class for running backs is awesome. I know you've probably been hearing about it if you pay attention to that stuff, which I assume you do if you are into Dynasty, but this rookie class is pretty damn good. Maybe not quite as good as we thought heading into the college season, but still really, really good and really deep. So if you need running backs, this is the time. And of course, the headliner, as many of you know, even if you're just a casual player, try to see where I can best move myself. I think there looks the best just to give it more space. But the headliner in this class is Ashton Jeanty. This is tier 1. Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. 2,500 rushing yards to go along with 116 receiving yards and 30 touchdowns. By the way, he still has at least one more game in college because Boise State is in the college football playoffs. They have a bye. So I forget when they play. I think they play sometime next weekend. The college football playoff starts this weekend. By the way, it is Friday, December 20th. Keep that in mind. A lot of this could change, especially as we get to the mid to lower tiers. The stuff at the top is probably going to stay the same. But Boise State, by the way, plays on December 31st. So that's their next game. But Ashton Jeanty is the easy tier 1 generational running back, are some people that are calling him. I think he's really, really damn good. He's going to go in the first round. I don't see how he gets past the Cowboys unless, maybe a team takes him before that, but I don't see how he gets past the Cowboys. Currently, the Cowboys have the 14th overall pick. This guy is basically a guaranteed first-round pick at the running back position. And again, some people are saying he's generational. And Ashton Jeanty, the clear, potentially the 101, even in Superflex drafts, kind of like the Bijan year. Even in Superflex drafts, people are going to probably take Jeanty. A lot of people are going to take Ashton Jeanty number 1 overall. He's 5'9", 215. He runs a 4.42 and just incredible, incredible talent. So, you guys probably already know him. I don't need to keep wax poetic about him, but next up is the tier 2. And by the way, Jeanty is the only running back in tier 1 for me. Tier 2, we have some good players, though. Omario Hampton out of North Carolina. He is another running back in this draft class. Maybe he sneaks into the top, into the first round, into the back end of the first round. You get teams potentially like, Baltimore, who could be picking late, the Chargers, who can be picking a little bit later, Minnesota, trying to see who else, maybe even Kansas City. I don't know. You get these kind of better teams that are a little bit more complete. They don't have as many holes, and maybe they want a running back to kind of, complete their offense or something. By the way, the running back renaissance for sure. We're seeing teams who invested in running backs, Eagles, Packers, Ravens, that the running back means a lot still to that offense, especially the special ones. But Mario Hampton, maybe he sneaks in to the into the first round. I think he's a guaranteed second round pick and a pretty early second round pick at that. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first round. He's 6 foot 220. He runs a 4.44, so he's a big back. A lot of these guys are big, by the way. Ashton Jeanty might be one of the smaller ones at the top, which is kind of funny. But he ran for over 1,650 yards, had 38 catches, over almost 375 yards, 17 total touchdowns. Just incredibly productive running back. I think he's a complete player, and whatever team he goes to, he can be their every down back. Omario Hampton belongs into tier 1 here. Caleb Johnson, another running back that I really, really like. This running back class is deep. Would I be shocked if Caleb Johnson, honestly, any of these guys in this tier, I wouldn't be shocked if any one of them goes in the first round, maybe even a couple of them. Again, just kind of depends on all the other positions and what teams are picking where and things like that. But I could see any one of these three, depending on if a team likes one over the other. Caleb Johnson is awesome. He went to Iowa. He's another big pack, 6 foot, 225, runs probably a 4.49, 1,500. 1,500 rushing yards, 22 catches, and 188 yards. By the way, 22 catches and 188 yards might not sound like a lot. 22 catches for any college running back is a pretty good amount, considering they play 12, 13 games on average, and offenses generally don't throw to running backs as much as they do in the NFL. But for Iowa, that is insane. He was the third leading receiver on Iowa. He was the third leading receiver. Iowa this year, guys, threw for 1,580 yards. They were a run team, play defense. They do not throw the ball. They haven't been a prolific pass offense in a long time. So they threw for 1,580 yards, which means he was 12% of the team's passing offense. He was the third leading receiver in terms of yards and catches on the team, behind their tight end and their number one receiver, and he was only 200 yards behind their number one receiver. He was second on the team, tied for second on the team in touchdown catches. He caught 2 of Iowa's 9 touchdown passes. So the guy, Caleb Johnson basically accounted for about 18% of his team's passing offense, let alone what he was doing on the ground. So Caleb Johnson, to me, you can make an argument of him over Omario Hampton. I will say this is seemingly, whatever website you look at, this is seemingly the top 3. Ashton Jeanty is the clear-cut number 1, and then Omario Hampton, Caleb Johnson, maybe they're flipped. They are in that tier 2. I have one more guy here in that tier 2, and that's Quinshon Judkins, the Ohio State transfer this year. Ran for 800 yards, 15 catches, 109 yards through the air, 9 touchdowns. He's 6 foot, 219, runs a 4.49. He had a huge freshman year. Put up 1,700 total yards with 17 touchdowns. He had a really good sophomore year of 1,300 total yards and 17 touchdowns. He transferred to Ohio State, and they basically ran a two-back system. As you're going to see from the next guy on the list is another Ohio State guy. They have two running backs that potentially could be taken in day 2, at the latest. So, Quinshon Judkins, he was considered the top running back heading into the 2024 college season. It was him and maybe one other guy, which we'll talk about. He has fallen a little bit, but I still think everything that made him special is still there. And once again, he basically split carries. He had 800 rushing yards on 150 carries. The next guy we're going to talk about, Travion Henderson, also had over 100 carries himself. So Quinshon Judkins, I still think he has the talent. Still think he's going to fall on be a day 2 pick and be a very, very good potential complete running back. And a lot of people do have him as their 4th. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. But to me, he is a workhorse running back. Into tier 3. And by the way, guys, tier 3, I still have guys that could be going in the second round. Both these guys that are going to be in tier 3, I think, could be second-round picks, and probably for almost guaranteed as day 2 picks, meaning second or third round. So that just shows you how deep it is. Just for a quick reference, and I'm going to double-check this, the NFL draft last year, I believe, let me double-check here, running backs taken in the first 3 rounds, there was 4 guys. Jonathan Brooks, Benson, Corum, and Marshawn Lloyd. There's 4 guys taken in the first 3 rounds. To me, there's going to be at least 6 and maybe more by the end of day 2. So into tier 3, guys, I have Travion Henderson, another Ohio State running back. So you have 2 Ohio State guys going. I have him a tier down. I do have him a tier under. The Omario Hamptons and Judkins and Johnsons of the world, but he's still an incredibly productive back. He's He's 5'10", 208, runs a 4.39, so he's faster. One of the faster running backs in this draft class. Ran for over 700 yards on just 100 carries, so he averaged like over 7 yards a carry. Also had 19 catches, 6 touchdowns. Just an incredibly productive back. Some people like him more than Quinshon Judkins. A lot of people were surprised that Travion Henderson did not come out of the draft, come out into the declare for the NFL for the 2024 draft, just because one, they think he would have been a day 2 pick and potentially the best running back in that draft class, because it wasn't a very deep running back draft class. The one thing I would say about him, Travion Henderson, and Judkins is like their best seasons were their freshman year, which makes me slightly hesitant. Usually you like to see improvement year to year and not, you don't like to see your best year in the beginning and then kind of go down from there. But I still think all that talent's there for Travion Henderson. He's always kind of, he's always split the backfield a lot. Even in 2024, he had 150 carries only. In 2022, he was splitting. He was actually second on the team in carries, so he's never really been like the main guy for Ohio State. But I think the talent is there for him, and I do think he is a workhorse running back. And then I have Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson here out of Tennessee, another incredibly productive running back, over almost 1,500 rushing yards, 19 catches, 140 yards, 22 touchdowns. He's 5'11", 190, so he's a little bit smaller. Some people have Dylan Sampson as their fourth in the top 5. Have him just outside of it, but right there. He runs a 4.35. He's incredibly fast. He is, like I said, a little bit smaller. He has kind of elite burst, and I do think he can be a workhorse guy. I think we're seeing in the NFL, you don't quite have to be, 220 to be a workhorse guy. Achane and Gibbs are kind of putting that to bed a little bit. Dylan Sampson, I think, can kind of play in that type of role there. Now, will a team be willing to give him that role? We'll see. I do think he can be a workhorse running back. I do think he's a day 2 pick. I'm excited to see where he goes because he is a fun player to watch. That's my first 3 tiers. And once again, I think all those guys are workhorse running backs. I think all those guys are going to go day 2. And I think there's a chance that majority of them go in the second round. And we're going to continue on here with guys that I still think could sneak into day 2, at least the first few guys, in my opinion. The first 1 or 2 actually, no, the first several guys, most of this tier actually, I think could sneak into the end of, by the end of the third round, especially given comp picks. Bashal Tootin, I think I'm saying that correctly. Bashal Tootin, I watch a lot of all 22 film and not the broadcast stuff, so I need to get the pronunciation stuff down just because all 22, they don't have the broadcast. But Virginia Tech running back here, he's a guy that I think I'm going to be higher on, at least as of now, than a lot of sites. From what the vibe I'm getting from a lot of sites, I still think he can sneak into the third round here. And he has good size, 5'11", 210. He's maybe the fastest running back in this draft class. He runs a 4.32, so he's his burst is insane, and he's not a small guy. He's not like Dylan Sampson. He's about 20 pounds heavier than Dylan Sampson and runs faster than him. I also think this guy's a workhorse running back. That's just how deep this class is. Like, it's crazy to think that the top 7-8 guys could be workhorse running backs, but I think they can. And by workhorse, I mean, I think they can do it all. He ran for 1,160 yards, 23 catches, 81 yards, 17 touchdowns. Again, played at Virginia Tech for just 2 years. So was productive his first year there. He had over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. And then he improved this year, increasing basically everything, increasing his total yardage production, his yards per carry. His yards per reception was down significantly, which is a little bit of concern, but the guy's explosive. He's an accelerator. Once he gets to his top gear, it's insane. I will be interested to see what his 10-yard split is at the combine, because I think that's a little bit more telling than the 40-yard. But if it's a really good 10-yard split, then I really like Bashal Tootin. And yeah, I mean, like he's a good pass catcher, good contact balance. Um, and one thing you want to see with a lot of these college running backs is stop bouncing the ball outside. They tend to bounce the ball outside a little bit because usually they're bigger, faster, stronger than most people on the field. That's not the case in the NFL. Um, you're not necessarily going to be bigger and faster and stronger than everyone. So take the easy yards sometimes, and I think with the right coaching he will get there. By the way, tier 4 is pretty big here. DJ Giddens from Kansas State, another running back that I feel like I'm going to be a little bit higher on than other people. I've seen other sites rank him closer to like 20th, whereas I'm having him more in like the top 10 pretty comfortably. And DJ Giddens, just to give you some of his stats here, 1,350 yards, 21 catches, 258 yards through the air, 8 total touchdowns. He's a tall guy. He's 6'1", 212. I still think he can put on some weight. He's not as fast as the other ones. He runs a 4.56, but just super productive the last 2 years at Kansas State. Over 1,500 yards in 2023, over 1,600 yards last year. Can catch the ball, has 50 catches over his last 2 years. So I like that about him. I think he has the potential to be a workhorse running back as well. Maybe he's a little bit not quite a workhorse and a little bit of like that dual role kind of guy where he can do a little bit of both. He can catch and run, but they don't want to give him 20 carries or something. I don't know. It depends on where he goes to and things like that. But I really like him. I love I'm a sucker for this. I love the patience and the vision, right? I love running backs that are like that. Jonathan Brooks is like that to me. Obviously, we're not going to see that from Brooks for another year or so, but DJ Giddens to me has that patience, lets the holes open up and then goes. And when you're not maybe elite speed wise, maybe you have to do that a little bit more, but I feel like that just translates a little bit better to the NFL than bouncing the ball outside and just outrunning everyone because you're faster than all of them, because you're an NFL player, a caliber player, and half the guys you're playing against are they're going to be potentially going on to whatever their degree is in, right? Working in that area. So I think I just like that type of stuff. I like the vision type of running and kind of like that versatile skill set that I think Giddens has and the size and stuff like that. He doesn't have the elite speed, but I don't think if you run, as long as you run in like in the 4.5s, I think that's okay. As long as you have a good initial burst and you have good patience and vision. So I really like DJ Giddens, another player that I think could sneak into the third round of the real NFL draft. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying the content, make sure to hit the like button on this video, gets more viewers on it, and subscribe to the channel and join our Discord. It's free. Link is in the description. If you get in there, we're going to try and put together some dynasty leagues for our listeners. And, if you've never played Dynasty before and want to get into it, then join our Discord. We'll get you into it. We'll do some startup drafts in the off season. Continuing along with tier 4, I have 4 more guys in here, guys. So it's a big tier, which is kind of how it should be, in my opinion. Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn. The University of Auburn, another player that I like and I throw in this tier, and a guy that I think could sneak into day 2 or early day 3. 1,200 rushing yards, 21 catches, 155 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's 5'10", 210, so perfect, kind of that perfect size for a running back. Runs a 4.44 around there. These are all estimates, by the way. Just has been at Auburn for 4 years, productive from the get-go. I like to see that. I like to see him get on the field as a freshman and produce. He had over almost 600 yards rushing as a freshman, over almost 900 total yards as a sophomore, and then kind of took over that backfield a little bit more, over 1,000 total yards his junior year, and then over 1,350 total yards. He just improved every single year and was productive from the beginning, which I like to see those type of things, right? To me, like if you're able to get on the field and be productive at the age of 18 or however old he was, maybe even younger when his freshman year, I like to see that type of stuff for him. people are going to be lower. Again, this is where you start separating and people have who they like and who they don't like and things like that. But to me, he's another potential workhorse running back. Like all these guys, man, they have the size, the speed, the everything to be that workhorse type of player. Another guy with good vision, in my opinion. He does have that second gear. There's a couple of things that are a little bit of concern, like is he going to be able to pass block and things like that. But I don't think he's quite at the level of being a talented receiving guy kind of guy. So are they going to use him on third down? I don't know, but we'll see. I think he has all the skill sets to potentially get to that level, but we'll see what team he goes to. Continuing on with our tier 4, Kyle Monagai, I believe is how you say it, from Rutgers. Good to see Rutgers on this list. Another guy that I think, you're going to get kind of rankings all over the place here. I have him comfortably in this tier here. He's almost 1,300 rushing yards, only 14 catches and 75 yards. So didn't do a whole lot through the air, although, and I'm just double checking Rutgers in general. Okay, Rutgers threw for 2,500 yards. So it's not like they didn't throw the ball at all, but, not a prolific passing offense. He was the leading player out of the backfield. So in terms of catching the ball as well, but it just another back that's been productive for several years now, has 2 back-to-back years of over 1,300 total yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 years ago, 14 touchdowns this year. Again, is he going to do a whole lot through the air? Maybe he'll give you, if a team does make him kind of their starting running back, which I do think he could potentially be. If a team does make him, he'll get his couple catches a game, 1.5 catches, 2 catches a game, but nothing like special or anything like that. I don't know if they're going to design, pass attempts to him besides the occasional screen here and there. So I don't expect that. He's not. That's what separates him from kind of, the top tier guys. But Kyle Monagai, I think, is another guy that could be a workhorse running back. I'm just telling you, this draft class at the running back position is stacked. Just load up on running backs in the 2nd and 3rd and even 4th rounds of your dynasty rookie drafts. I think he could be a late 3rd round pick as well. We have 2 more guys in this tier. Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech. Taj Brooks here ran for over 1,500 yards, 28 catches, 200 yards, 18 total touchdowns. He is a big back. So a team that's looking for that big hammer type of back, this is who they potentially could be targeting. He's 5'10", 230, so he's thick. He only runs a 4.65 potentially. That's going to be key. Watch Taj Brooks during the combine or pro day. If he can get to like a low 4.6 or a high 4.5, that's really going to help his draft stock. But if he is running, in the mid 4.6s, generally running backs don't make it. Audric Esme is one of those. He did come out. Kyron Williams ran in the 4.6s. Obviously, you see that. 2 things to look for with Taj Brooks: his 10-yard split and his 40-yard time. If he has a good 10-yard split, I don't really care too much about his 40-yard time. If he has a really good 10-yard split, so if he's fast, his initial burst is good. And then if he can get into the low 4.6s or high 4.5s, I think it's going to bump his draft stock a little bit. I think if he does run in the 4.6s, he's probably going to be a day 3 pick. But man, another guy that's just been super productive, back-to-back years of over 1,600 yards in 2023, 1,700 yards this year, 18 total touchdowns, can catch the ball. He has over 100 career catches in his career, about 80 or so in the last 3 years. Just again, super, super productive. But people are going to be scared away from that speed. They are. I know they are. For Taj Brooks. So, I'm not too worried about it. Again, if his 10-yard split or something, but it's just another guy that I just think can be a workhorse guy, at least that hammer early downs running back that teams still value. I think he's durable. He carried a lot. He had 290 carries in 2023. 290 again, back-to-back 290 carries. So I think a team will really like him as their hammer back. And then the last one here is Ollie Gordon, which is a little bit sad to see because Ollie Gordon was the next great running back in college football. Even going into this year, people were very high on him, and he's fallen off. But man, his sophomore year was incredible. 1,700 rushing yards, led the entire nation. 22 total touchdowns, 39 catches, and 330 yards. The guy put up over 2,000 yards total with 22 touchdowns and 40 catches. His just 2 years ago, guys. And people were saying this guy's a stud. He's going to be the best running back, the headliner in this draft class. And he really fell off this year. 880 yards on the ground. His yards per attempt fell off by a yard and a half. His catches dropped by 10. His yards per reception dropped by almost 2.5. So I really want to get more into the tape of these guys. By the way, I've looked about 2 games for all these guys. I want to get more into the tape and just what happened with Ollie Gordon, because man, people were like talking about this guy as like a first round pick, easy first round pick. And he fall off quite a bit, unfortunately. So I do think what's intriguing about him is I don't necessarily think he had that amazing, incredible season, the Ashton Jeanty type of season, over 2,000 total yards. He had that. That I think is still in his bag somewhere. If you're late in your draft, right? If you're late in your draft, and he's sitting there, I might take a shot on him just because that potential. Can someone unlock that potential of where Ollie Gordon was? So I'll be interested to look more into Ollie Gordon. But we have tier 5, another big tier here. These guys are probably day 3 picks. I'll go a little bit quickly through these guys. Jonah Coleman from Washington, 1,000 total yards, 1,000 rushing yards, 22 catches, 10 total touchdowns. He's 5'9", 229. Just a solid running back. Don't think he's anything necessarily special. Think he's, again, a day 3 pick. I think he can be a little bit of a dual role running back, can kind of do everything. So I like him. RJ Harvey out of UCF, another UCF player here. RJ Harvey is a guy, kind of a sneaky guy. I kind of like RJ Harvey, and I know people are going to be very low on him. I think I saw him as low as 30th best in this draft class. I think he has the build and the potential to be a workhorse guy. Ran for almost 1,600 yards. Also caught 20 passes for 267 yards, 25 total touchdowns. He's 5'9", 208. Runs a 4.41. I think he kind of has all those tools you want to be a workhorse running back. I really like his jump cut and lateral quickness. So his frame, a little bit undersized, which I think is a little bit concerning. But he's a guy he might rise up a little bit on my draft board, especially given depending on where he goes. Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M is up next. Just 765 rushing yards. For Le'Veon Moss this year, only 10 catches, did catch for over 140 yards, 10 total touchdowns. Did only play in 9 games, by the way, so he did miss some time there. So keep that in mind when looking at his raw stats. He was also kind of sharing the backfield. Amari Daniels had more carries than him this year, partly because Amari Daniels played 3 more games, but he was still getting a decent amount of run there, even with Le'Veon Moss there. But I like the size of Le'Veon Moss, 6 foot 215, runs in the low 4.4s. So I like all that stuff about him. And so, I think I might move him up as well. He's another one that might move up. He's another guy that I think he has the tools to be a workhorse guy. A lot of these guys, man, are workhorse guys, in my opinion. Workhorse potential. 3 more guys in this list. Some familiar names here. Devin Neal. A lot of people are going to be talking about Devin Neal just because, he was one of the most productive running backs over the last 4 years at Kansas. Literally came in as a freshman, rushed for over 700 yards, had 9 touchdowns. So I like to see that improvement every single year, from 750 total yards to 1,270 to 1,500 to over 1,500, 17 touchdowns each of the last 2 years. He has 75 catches essentially, or about 70 catches combined in the last 3 years. So he can catch the ball. There's not a whole lot to dislike about Devin Neal. I don't think he's necessarily special. I think he's just a solid running back. Some people are much higher on him. I think I saw him as high as like in the top 10. I'm not quite as high as him. I do think he could be a potential, like, if called upon, a workhorse type of guy. I do think he's a very good pass catcher. I just don't think he's dominant in any area. And so that's why I have him just a little bit lower on my list here. I just don't think he's like dominant or special. Trevor Etienne, obviously the name value is going to bump him up just a little bit. So keep that in mind. If you do want ETN, people are going to see the name and they're probably going to take him maybe a little bit higher than he should go. Again, another guy that I don't think is necessarily, this incredible special player. Ran for 570 yards at Georgia this last year. And had 28 catches, 170 yards, only played in 9 games. So do keep that in mind. Has never had a huge workload. His most carries in one season is 130. So keep that in mind. So that could potentially, teams could be, can he be a workhorse guy? I don't know. He did get out carried by someone else on his team, but again, he did miss a few games there. But pretty good pass catcher. I think he's probably more of a change of pace type of back more than anything, but I could be wrong. And then Cam Scatabo from Arizona State. Incredible production. So if people are if they weight production more than anything, he's going to be a lot higher on the list for them. If people just have this, lean towards that, but incredibly productive. He's 5'11", 215, over 1,550 rushing yards, 37 catches for 500 yards, guys, and 22 touchdowns. I love Scatabo. If he gets into the right offense, I could bump him up just a little bit. But incredibly productive. Only played 2 years at Arizona State. By the way, some of these guys might not declare. There's a chance I think they might not declare. I think most of them are, but I think there's a chance. But yeah, the pass catching ability for him is incredible. And I think that's where he's going to make his bread and butter. The dude averaged 13 yards per reception as a running back. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Over 2,000 scrimmage yards, 22 touchdowns this year. I'll be interested to see. He's probably going to run. He's going to be slower. He is going to be slower. He's probably going to run in the low 4.6s, high 4.5s. So that's going to bump him down a little bit. But man, he did fumble a lot too. I think he had about 10 fumbles over 3 years or 2 years. The speed's going to be a little bit concerned, but that pass catching ability is going to be intriguing. And then to finish it out, guys, I have tier 6 guys. I have Jordan James from Oregon and Jaden Ott. Jordan James, 5'10", 210, runs a 4.45, over 1,250 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns. Then Jaden Ott here, only 385 yards rushing and 220 yards 22 yards on the ground. He's kind of a dual role type of guy. I don't think he's a workhorse by any means, but just 2 guys to keep an eye on. So appreciate you all very, very much. Again, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I will see you all very, very soon looking at some quarterbacks. Appreciate you.